Welcome to the Hello Sunday podcast with me, Nikki Hayden. This is the podcast that discusses everything self-development, spirituality and sobriety, and it wouldn't be me without a little sprinkling of humour. Whether you are just starting out on your journey of self-development or have been exploring these topics for years, are completely alcohol-free or just curious about living a more sober lifestyle, this is the podcast for you. Each week, I'll be exploring topics in both solo episodes and with some amazing guest experts. So if you like what you hear, then please subscribe, rate and review. So with that said, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Hello Sunday. I hope you're all doing really, really well. I hope you've had a fantastic week. I have got a really, really exciting episode for you all today. I'm joined by a guest. She has gone from party girl to living a completely alcohol-free life and absolutely loving it. And now she's teaching other people how to do the same. So welcome to the podcast, Faye-Louise Hughes.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me on your podcast, Nikki. I'm so excited.
Oh, you're so welcome. And good morning to you, because you're over in, is it Sydney that you live in now?
Yes, Sydney. So it's 6:30 in the morning. What time is it there in the UK?
7:30 at night. So yeah, thank you for getting up so well. I was going to say thank you for getting up so early, but I follow you on socials and you're like a 5 a.m. riser, aren't you?
Get up at 4 a.m. now. Yeah, I love it now. I think, 4 a.m. I think going alcohol free as well, which we're going to talk about, it's become more of a thing that I'm obsessed with. And I love getting up in the morning knowing that I am awake before a lot of other people. So I love my mornings now. They're really special.
Yeah, amazing. I think if I tried to get my husband up at 4 a.m, I wouldn't have a husband anymore. So you're lucky, because I think your partner joins you, doesn't he? And he does all the early morning stuff as well, which is incredible. So, well, no, thank you so much for joining us. So Faye and I have actually never met face to face because we obviously live in completely different countries. But I've followed you now, Faye, on social media for quite a while because I think we knew each other through Francesca's book club, and then just your whole ethos and energy and everything that you stand for. You're just such a positive person, and I've wanted to get you on the podcast for a long time. And now that you've gone sober as well, I mean, even more reason, because I think most of my listeners could probably relate to your story and relate to the fact that you haven't had an alcohol dependency or alcohol issues, but actually just chose to go alcohol free because it's just given you a much better lifestyle. So we can talk about all of that, but kick us off with just telling us a little bit about your background and your story, and I guess sort of, how you've ended up in Australia and how you've come to be on the journey that you're on now.
So I was your typical binge drinker. I was such a party girl. And the thing is, I loved being known as a party girl. I loved being known as the really wild one. My family, on the other hand, absolutely hated it, because at home when I was living in the UK, I'd go out and I'd always bring people back to my mum's house into the garden. My mum had this gorgeous little, it was like a summer house, and I used to always bring people back thinking that we'd be really quiet, and we weren't quiet at all. And I think I caused a lot of chaos with my mum, my brothers, lots of arguments about me drinking. And I just started to get really bored in my job. I was thinking, is this it? Is this my life where I literally just live for the weekends to get drunk? So I impulsively, very, very impulsively, booked a one-way flight to Australia. And for the first 2 years, I kid you not, I think I drank 5 times a week. I was having so much fun. But my partying, I'd say it tripled, absolutely tripled. And I turned into one of those girls who recorded her whole night. My story is I would have had 20 stories of me just going around singing, shouting, dressing up as people going to work. If I was at a party and I seen someone's work clothes, I'd dress up to pretend I'm off to work. I'd get pots and pans out and pretend I was a DJ. And my brothers were like disgusted in me. They had to block me on social media. And I actually met my boyfriend partying as well. We've been friends for a long time in the same friendship group. And I remember when I was out, I'd always invite Joe because I just thought Joe was incredible. He was very out there. He's crazy like me. And that's what I liked. He's typical textbook. So when he drank, his ADHD symptoms like really, really worsened. And lots of people would say to me, Faye, if you're inviting Joe, you can entertain him tonight. And I used to think that was like the best thing ever, that I got to entertain him. And to be honest, thinking back, they probably thought that about me. They probably loved to go there because then I was off their hair as well. And then me and Joe got together. It took quite a while because when you're a party girl and you've got this big reputation and you're going out on a Thursday and not coming home on a Monday, like nobody wants that as a girlfriend. Who wants that? Like I wouldn't want that as a boyfriend. So it took me a while to convince Joe to let me be his girlfriend. And then I was his girlfriend, and we carried on going out for a bit, but with alcohol, like what it does, it changes the mood. We did tend to argue. So we decided to stop going out, stop partying. And we ended up doing like really nice things, like date days, weekend trips, really nice dates. And it was so lovely. And like we both felt incredible. Like it was really, really good. Like we felt energetic, healthy. And from that, Joe got into marathons and he got into like reading, self-development with me. So that when we weren't drinking, like we were on the ball, like reading, lots of workouts, really healthy, productive, getting things done. So Joe would take off like 6 weeks at a time, and I wouldn't though. I would still sit in the house and drink a Prosecco just because, I thought I loved Prosecco and I thought it was a really sophisticated thing to do to stay in the house and
I know that one.
or red wine as well. And then Joe really got into his training. He got into Ironman, so he took 6 months off. And when I watched him, 6 months off drinking, when I watched him, how he looked, how he felt, how much things he was getting done in a day, like I was very, very inspired. And then from that, I carried on drinking. I'd love to say that I stopped then, but I did carry on drinking. But because I was having these long stints of not drinking, I really got into my self-development journey. Like it really, really deepened. And this is when I would have met you in Francesca's book club. This is when I really got into the books and meditating and the affirmations and all the subliminals that Fran does. I was obsessed. So it really, really deepened. And then from that as well, I got into psychology. And I ended up getting a job with psychologists, and they introduced me to positive psychology, which is the science of well-being, happiness, success. It's known to be the psychology that helps you reach your true potential. So I found a course to get certified as a positive psychology coach. And during that, I didn't drink because I was like, I want to get everything I can out of the program. And I felt so, so good. I think I didn't drink for like maybe 8 weeks. I felt amazing. And I was thinking, wow, I've literally hit the nail on the head here with this positive psychology. I feel like I've met my true potential here. And when I graduated from the program, what do? I drink though to celebrate, because that's the normal thing is to celebrate. And I felt awful. But because I'd finished, I then got into the habit again of drinking every weekend, and I lost all my motivation, my productivity, wasn't getting things done, wasn't consistent with my meditating, journaling. And I felt like a fraud. I was like, how can I teach people well-being if I don't feel good? Like I felt like an absolute fraud. And then this was the time I started seeing so much about the sobriety movement. And it's the same time that Dr. Alex George, I'm obsessed with him. That's the only Love Island that I watched.
He's great, isn't he? Yeah, he's fab.
And he came out to say he was diagnosed with ADHD. And that was the same time that I did as well. And he said, it's absolutely the worst thing you can do, drink alcohol whilst you've got ADHD. So then I got really, really curious about being sober, being alcohol free. But I did have a holiday planned to Dubai. One of the first cousins was getting married, and I thought I can't do that sober. I have to drink. But before that, it was January. So I attempted dry January, although my birthday is in January. So, of course, a few Prosecco's on my birthday, a few Prosecco's on the weekend. But I did manage to do about 3 weeks of not drinking before I went to Dubai. So I felt amazing. I was so consistent with like reading every day, meditating, journaling, healthy eating, working out, and I felt amazing. So I had all this intention to go to Dubai to carry on with my morning routine, carry on working out. Had this intention to spend a lot of time with my mum because she lives in the UK. I don't get to see her a lot. The flight to Australia, it's 24 hours or something. So I was thinking I really want to make sure I'm spending all my time with my mum, making gorgeous memories. And the first night in Dubai, we ended up flying in late and we were quite hungry. So we went for food, but I was dying for a cocktail because on holiday, first night of holiday, I
Just
had
what you do, yeah.
And Joe was quite tired though. He was like, well, just have one cocktail and then go to bed. But I was thinking I really, really would love another one. I was thinking, oh my God, is he going to judge me if I order another one? But in the end, Joe was like, right, come on, let's go. I need to go to bed. And then the next day was the big day when I was meeting all of the family. So I was so excited to see aunties and uncles and cousins, family friends that I've not seen in like 3 years, 5 years. So excited. And I think, yeah, the excitement took over. And then the next day I woke up and can't remember how I got home. I was absolutely hanging, couldn't lift my head off the pillow. All I had was pictures on my phone of me, my tummy hanging out, my belt up my belly. It was just awful. And that day it was the hen do, and my poor mum had been waiting at the hen do an hour for me because I couldn't get out of bed. Oh. And I was so embarrassed, and I'd love to say that I reined it in then, but I didn't. I carried on drinking the whole holiday. The only day I didn't drink was the night before the wedding. And on the wedding, though, I was very concerned about my drinking. I know what I'm like. I get very overexcited very easy, and I tend to black out. So I really wanted to moderate. I really wanted to wait until it was dark, until everyone was drunk, so that the attention all wasn't on me. But I really struggled to not drink like everyone else. Like I really felt deprived that I was only allowing myself like one drink every 2 hours because I was scared that, I was just going to get too drunk. And I realized then how much the thinking of drinking was taking me away from the moment of being present in that beautiful, gorgeous wedding. And it was on the flight back to Australia, and I was reflecting and I was thinking, did I stay consistent with my self-development? No. Did I spend time with my mum and make amazing memories? No, I blacked out most nights, and I didn't spend a lot of time with my mum because I was in bed hungover, and I had another intention to see lots of places in Dubai, and I didn't see anything really in Dubai because I was so hungover. So on that flight, I was like, that's it. I am taking 6 months off alcohol, and it's going to be an experiment, and I'm just going to see how I feel, what comes of it. And I'm nearly 14 months past the day. Wow. And I honestly don't think I'll go back now.
So it was just on that flight and you just reflected, because most people probably would have just got on the flight and thought, oh, wow, messed up, not done anything about it. What was it that you think made you kind of make that decision and actually think, no, something's got to change now, versus all the other times, which has happened to me time and time and time again, where I've thought, I need to make a change, and you just don't. You just carry on, and your mates will encourage you, or you'll have an event and you never do the thing that you say you're going to do. What changed on that flight? What was it about that occasion, do you think? For those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed, water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily, and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3 month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes.
I think it was the fact that I didn't spend time with my mum. I didn't make memories, precious memories, because she lives so far away. That was a really special time for us to make memories. And yeah, we didn't, because I was so drunk all the time, or I was blacking out, or I was in bed hungover. And I think previously in Australia, when I was drinking all the time and blacking out, like, it didn't matter because I was doing it every weekend anyway. So it was okay. I didn't feel that it was important. But because I only see my mum now maybe once, sometimes not even once a year, sometimes once every 2 years, I thought, wow, this alcohol has really taken me away from being in the present and spending time with my family.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? It really is. And I think, especially in the UK, I mean, I don't know what it's like over in Australia, but it sounds from what you've said like Sydney's just as, ingrained in the alcohol culture. But it's just the norm, isn't it? Like, people give up memories, don't remember events. I've got friends that don't remember their wedding day because they were that pissed, and it's crazy. And then other cultures will say, oh my gosh, you drink to that excess at like a christening or a baby shower, or even just a family occasion. And it's just the way that we've been brought up, I think, in the UK. So you're no different to all the hundreds of 20-odd-year-olds out there. So when you decided to step off the plane and make that change, did you know at that point that you would go beyond the 6 months, or did you think that you'd struggle to do that initial 6 month period?
I did think I would struggle because I was going back to Australia in the middle of summer. So that's what me and Joe used to always do, is go to the beach and then we'd go to a bar and have Aperol spritzes. So I was thinking, Faye, you sure you want to do this right now, right in the middle of summer, right where there's a gorgeous pop-up Aperol spritz bar just outside the beach? Are you sure? But I just thought, like, I can't keep doing this to myself. But I kind of do think as well that maybe I did know it was it, because I went home as well. So the wedding was in February. I went home in the November. And it was really funny. I went out with my little brothers and they are wild. I thought I was wild, but my little brothers are wild. They're obviously a lot younger than me. And the next day, all of us come in the next morning and we all said, I'm not drinking again. I am not drinking again. And my poor mum again, bless her. So we got in about 6 o'clock in the morning, and my mum said that day she would do Christmas in November. So she cooked, she prepared a Christmas dinner for us. She got champagne and orange to do the little celebration drinks. And we were so ill. We couldn't even watch TV. We couldn't eat. We couldn't drink with her. And I think that
Oh,
really influenced me as well. But yeah.
yeah. It's sometimes just a lot of moments that you don't realize, I think, that add up to just that catalyst then that makes you kind of it's like the straw that broke the camel's back, I guess, isn't it? With not drinking now for 14 months, I think the one big thing that most people say to me when they discuss doing a period of sobriety or giving up alcohol altogether is the peer pressure. And you said just, oh, I had Dubai, I had a holiday, my birthday's in January, I just couldn't do these occasions alcohol free. What have you found has been, I guess, the hardest thing around occasions and events that you normally would have drank at and saying no now. And also just that peer pressure, do your friends still drink, and do you still have people saying, do you just want one, or go on, just have one with me, or calling you boring? Because I think that's, for most people that I speak to, the biggest hindrance or challenge for them in going alcohol free, or even trying a sober stint.
Yeah, especially if you were a big drinker and you were known to be going out all the time, and you were the friend who was always available to have a drink, no matter what day it was. So it is hard. It's navigating the friendships. And I think for me as well, a lot of my friendships have changed. And that was something that really, really worried me, was how am I going to make new friends again if I don't drink? How am I going to socialize? And I think the first thing is, I still went out a lot with Joe and his friends. We used to live with another couple, and I still went out with those friends. And it was all about preparing. You have to prepare, really, really prepare. So always knowing what you're going to have to drink there. So if you're going to a restaurant, ring them up straight away, find out what they have. If they don't sell alcohol drinks, call them and ask if you can have a bottle, if you can bring a non-alcohol free bottle. I did that when I was away on holiday. I've done that here as well. And I think as well, always having in your head, first, a backup plan. Always having a backdoor strategy, because sometimes it can get a little too much and you may need to go. And I have made that mistake once. I've gone out with Joe and his friends, and I thought we'd only go out for like 1 or 2 hours, and I thought I'll be absolutely fine with that. I'll have a few mocktails and then I can go home. I can have an early night and I've got a nice morning the next day. This one time, because I thought we were going out for 2 hours, we ended up staying 8 hours, and I itching to go home. And every time I tried to go home, Joe was like, no, it's okay, I'll come with you now. And then someone would buy him a drink. So my only regret, like, it's nobody's fault other than I should have been more prepared. I should have had a backdoor strategy for when I needed to leave. So I'd say that's crucial, having a backdoor strategy. And also having a plan for the next day, because people are going to be saying, oh, why don't you just have one? One won't matter. So if you're saying, oh, actually, like, even tell a few lies. You can say, oh, I'm just training for a triathlon. I'm training for a marathon. I'm up at 6. I've got a really, really strict program that I'm on. I'm doing like a 16K in the morning. And I think as well, especially with my party girl reputation, you have to figure out what you say to different people. So for example, when I was telling Joe and my mum and my family, my brothers, I was very honest why I wasn't drinking. I said, like, my anxiety I get from the next day, from not remembering anything and losing phones, passports. Oh, I've done all of that. And then, so honesty with close friends. And they will support you. If you're honest and say it's all to do with mental health, you want to feel better, then they'll give you your full support. But I think for maybe friends that you're not too close with, just lie, make up a lie, say you're on antibiotics, say that you are doing something for charity, and you're giving someone a lift in the airport. So yeah, definitely a few white lies when people are.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really strange, isn't it, that it's the only drug that people take that you have to justify why you don't take it when you don't. Nobody would come up to you and say, why aren't you, sniffing coke or injecting heroin or smoking crack? But when it's alcohol, people almost get offended and call you boring and say, you're no fun. And I think, as much as you can say to people, how boring have you got to be for me to need to drink for you to have fun, it still doesn't stop. So I've definitely utilised some of those little white lies at times. And I think as well, because I did 100 days the first time, and I was launching a business, everybody just got it. Like, nobody questioned, because they would have sounded like an absolute dickhead saying to me, no, come and get pissed, when I'd literally just launched a business and needed to be clear-headed. So I think having that like time frame on it as well, of saying, I'm just doing this 100 days, it's almost like then they feel that at the end of it, oh, well, she'll come and have a drink with us then. I mean, everyone's used to it with me now. It's, there's no questions, but definitely I love that advice of having a backdoor strategy as well, and telling a few white lies if you need to. And also that's a good idea. I've never thought to actually see if you can take your own alcohol-free options if they don't provide any. I think there's so many more bars now, and I don't know what it's like in Sydney, but certainly in the UK, there's loads more bars now that are popping up that have either completely alcohol-free or they serve much better alcohol-free options, but it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. We still go out to places and it's like I can have a Diet Coke or a soda and lime and nothing else. What's the Sydney scene like for alcohol-free now? Is there a lot more sort of choice and availability?
Yeah, there's actually loads of choice. Like the Opera House, where I used to love going for an Aperol Spritz, they have non-alcoholic wine, red, white, prosecco, rosé. Yeah, it's incredible. And there's loads of little bars as well that you can go to. I also went to an event maybe about 2 months ago. There's a coach I'm obsessed with, Sarah Rusbach, and she was bringing out her book, Beyond Booze, and I went to her book launch. And she had her launch in a non-alcoholic distillery. She had it in a non-alcoholic bar, and it was just absolutely incredible. They had all like non-alcoholic gin, all the spirits. It was absolutely incredible. So I can definitely see there's a movement in more bars popping up.
Yeah, definitely. I was talking to Sarah actually about getting her on the podcast. It's just, again, because she's in Australia, just the time difference, because she's got kids as well, hasn't she? But her book's fabulous because I think people assume that to have an issue with alcohol, that you've got to be putting vodka on your cornflakes in the morning or losing your job or losing the right to see your kids, when actually she talks about like grey area drinking, doesn't she? And how actually you can have a bit of a problem with your relationship with alcohol without it being that you're dependent. So like for you and I, it was binge drinking, it was being that party girl, it was not even being able to go to a bar mitzvah or baby shower without getting pissed. Whereas actually people would perceive that to be quite normal. Do you ever get any pushback or like questions about, well, why have you stopped drinking, Faye? You never had a problem, or people commenting on the fact that you don't need to have done this?
I get comments saying that people miss the old me, but when I say, yeah, I don't think
Wow.
it's very,
That's
very
so
good.
important.
And just explain, yeah, I might have been crazy and wild, but the next day, like I would be riddled in anxiety because of the things that I would have done or not even known that I was done. But it was really funny actually. In my job that I'm in now, I work in specialist mental health. I remember when I started, I said, oh no, sorry, it was a wine down Friday and they're trying to give me a wine. I was like, oh no, I don't drink. I'm okay, thank you. And they said, well, I'm sure we'll get you drinking. I was thinking,
At a mental health place? Wow.
I was like, no, you honestly, you really, really won't get me drinking.
That's
So,
nuts, isn't it? To think that even somewhere like that just thinks it's completely normal to use alcohol as a wind down. It never ceases to amaze me. So you were talking then a little bit, which is really interesting, about friendships and friendships changing. And I think that is something that I guess people get a little bit nervous of, a little bit worried about, if they have got a big group of friends and they're the only one that is thinking about not drinking. How have your friendships changed? And is it a case of you've distanced yourself from people, or is it just that you've changed the activities that you do with them? And yeah, have you sort of lost friends and changed friendship groups through this whole process?
yeah, I actually have lost quite a few friends from not drinking. And I do put this to that they were just drinking friends. They were friends that all we really had in common was we liked getting drunk. That's all we
Mm.
I do keep in contact with a few friends who I used to drink with, and we'd go for walks and sunrises. But my friendship groups have completely changed. And that's what I was so terrified about. But in Sarah's book as well, and in Sarah's, I've done a couple of Sarah's programs, she says when we distance ourselves from friendships and leave friendships, we make room for new friendships. So now what I do is I go religiously to a book club. So when I was drinking, I didn't go all the time because I'd be too tired, I'd be too hungover. So now I go every single Tuesday to a book club, and I have made so many friends. And these friends as well, they drink. Like, not all of them don't drink. Like, they drink as well, but we share the same values. We all share the value of working on our self-development, bettering ourselves. And from going to book club, we go to yoga, we go to breath work. So I can still go out with them as well, because we're not just going for the one thing, which is drinking. Like, I can go with them, they can drink, and we can still be talking about the books we've been reading, the podcasts that we've been listening to, and what we're working on. So I've actually got more of a social life now than what I did when I was drinking, because I've got all of this energy. And I go to a run club on a Wednesday, I go to a meditation morning on a Friday. And another thing is that, so I did lose my best friends drinking as well. And I was very upset about that. I thought I'd be very lonely in the sobriety journey. It was a big concern of mine. And in book club, I met this girl, Claire, and we had a really good, strong friendship. And with Claire, like, I seen lots of potential in our friendship. We had so much in common. And then I remember her messaging me saying, Faye, I'm going to stop drinking too. I'm going to have a little break, and I'm just going to see how I feel. And she is now nearly 1 year alcohol free as well. And
wow,
yeah, it's so crazy. And I used to always think you need to have alcohol in a relationship to be best friends, to be able to have those real heart to heart conversations. Because when you go out and get drunk, it's all like, oh my God, I love you, we're best friends, we need to do this, and go for a meal. And yeah, I thought, oh God, I'm never going to have a best friend now. I'm not drinking because I've not got any of that. But I actually asked Claire, it was probably maybe about 3 months ago, maybe longer. I said, Claire, I was like, can I call you my best friend? I was like, you are my best friend. All the time, we talk about absolutely everything. And I said, how amazing, we've created this friendship and there's been no alcohol involved in this friendship. And yeah, I think that's a real thing that I am proud of, because I didn't think that that would be possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely agree. I think there's friends of mine that I've definitely drifted from since I've not been drinking. And then there's others that I've just got closer to because either they weren't big drinkers anyway, or they've also stopped drinking for their own reasons. So it just, like you said, it's weeded out the friendships where it was just about going out and getting pissed and having fun with people. And actually, the friendships that have remained are those that are like built on solid values and conversations and things that actually go way beyond just going and getting pissed on a Friday, Saturday, or Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, as it sounds like it used to be. And what about in your relationship? Because Joe still drinks, I think, doesn't he? How have you found that dynamic? Because again, I think I know quite a few people whose partners, and he's probably not a big drinker, it sounds like it, with the stuff that he's done with, his Ironmans and his trainings. But I've got quite a few friends whose partners are not necessarily big drinkers, but they'll round off the week with having beers in the house, and they're always the first one at the bar whenever we go out for a meal. So how would you sort of recommend people navigate a relationship with somebody that still drinks, and have you found it difficult?
It's tricky when somebody in the relationship is still drinking, because I know deep down for me at the start, I really wanted Joe to not drink again. But I've had many conversations and listened to lots of podcasts and spoke with my therapist as well, who have said you can't convince anybody to stop drinking. You can influence, but you cannot put it on somebody. You cannot tell anybody. It has to be the person's choice at the end of the day. So I think it's about influencing. It's about showing up as your best self, being alcohol free. And if you find a really interesting podcast, send it on to your partner if you think that he may be interested in it. But I think what I've learned as well, not to do, is constantly go on about being alcohol free, constantly going on about the effects of alcohol. It's more of slipping it in sometimes into a few conversations. But I think you just need to have boundaries as well. So I just went away, me, Joe, his brother and his brother's girlfriend. We did the East Coast. We had a camper van, and I just had really strong boundaries from the start. I said, Joe, I won't be staying out late. I don't like doing late nights anymore. I love getting up in the morning and doing like a little sunrise, and I want to do my meditating and my journaling. And we'd meet in the middle, and I think I stayed out most nights until about like 10 o'clock, which was like a perfect time really, because it was still lots going on where I was. So I felt like it was really fun, but that was a perfect time for me to go home. And I would always say to Joe, like, I'm fine to go home on my own. It's up to you if you want to go home, but making sure that I'm giving it to him as a choice. And in the end, he did come home with me most nights, and he did say to me that was my choice because I'm enjoying getting up early in the morning. Like, he still drank every night, and I didn't mention anything about his drinking. I encouraged it. I said, yeah, have a drink with your brother. Like, it's absolutely fine. So yeah, it's hard. You can't tell anybody. I think you just need to influence and have boundaries. So maybe if you are wanting to remove alcohol yourself and there's beers in the fridge and you drink beer, ask them to cover it up. Ask them, can they put it in the fridge and in the garage? Ask them if they can leave a lot earlier than you would normally, just so you know that you're going into a good fresh day as well. Because that's the thing as well, you have to be careful that you're not resenting anybody as well from drinking. I think that's why it's really strong that you have strong boundaries, because I don't want to be resenting Joe like I resented him that night. I stayed out for 8 hours when I thought it was 2 hours. So you yourself need strong boundaries. You need to take ownership as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's really interesting because my husband still drinks, but we've both been on like a health and fitness kick since the beginning of the year because we had like back-to-back trips and Christmas. We both put on a ton of weight and just got out of routine. And like he's not drinking at the moment and feels incredible. And he has got a couple of occasions coming up where he's like, look, I'm gonna have a drink. But like you said, for me, it's like do what you need to do, do your own thing, because I can't talk. I was an absolute nightmare, and he's never been in a state where I've thought he was out of control or doesn't remember things. And I definitely have in front of him in the past. So I think sometimes when I try and get on my high horse or get preachy or try and influence him, I just have to think, God, he's seen you in some bright states. And actually, he's never once said to you, what are you doing? Or stop drinking or put anything onto you. So yeah, I think it's really easy once you feel the benefits to want everybody to feel that and to just shout about it from the rooftops. But it's really important not to come across as too preachy, isn't it? Otherwise people kind of close off and just think like, oh God, Faye's on that sobriety thing now, or God, Nikki's telling us again how fabulous she feels. But segueing into how fabulous you feel, you have been posting some of the most phenomenal benefits of not drinking on your Instagram, and all the stuff that you've been doing and all the morning workshops and events that you've gone to. And what have been for you the major benefits, do you think, of the last sort of 14 months of not touching alcohol?
I think number one is time, the amount of time I've received back, the amount of mornings, the quality time now that I spend with Joe. So now on a Sunday morning, we have a little date morning together, whereas normally, say over a year ago, like we'd be in bed hungover, I wouldn't even be able to speak to him. It's the energy that I now have. Like I have so much energy, and it's like reliable energy. So when I was drinking, I wouldn't know what I'd be going into the next day, how I would be feeling, how long I would be feeling hungover for, if it was 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. So now I have this consistent energy, which is just incredible. I'm so productive. I've finished all of these projects, which I wasn't able to finish. I didn't have the mental clarity when I was drinking to finish the projects. And another thing as well, it's the confidence I've got now. I have so much confidence. And I honestly think that's due to not having the hangovers, because when I'd wake up hungover, I used to hate myself. I'd be like, oh my God, Faye, you said 2 drinks. You've had, I don't even know how much you've had. You've spent all your savings that you saved this week. You've just lost another lipstick that you bought this morning. You don't know how you got home. You don't know if you've had an argument with Joe. You're too scared to ask if you've had an argument. And it's just that inner critic, just that whole argument in my head the whole day the whole couple of days from drinking. So now, because I'm not hungover, I have this space in my head for self-love. So now I tell myself I'm proud. Like, I say nice things to myself because I'm proud. Like, I don't have this shame and regret anymore. I'm very proud of who I am. I love who I am now as well. So I'd say self-love. Yeah, from a self-love, like, confidence is just incredible. Sticking up for myself. Yeah, and health. My IBS as well. It's not completely gone, but I rarely have flare-ups anymore, because it
That's
turns out
amazing.
it's the alcohol. Alcohol destroys all the bacteria, good and bad, in your tummy. So that's why every time I drank, I blew up. And it was so funny. Like, when I used to drink as well, I used to buy outfits because I know I would have this alcohol flare up. And now I don't have to worry about that. I can wear like my nice clothes, and yeah, just consistent happy mood. I just know that I know what mood I'm going to wake up to the next day. I'm not scared to wake up. Yeah.
The mood and
Difficult.
energy thing is huge. I was listening to Jay Shetty's podcast, I think it was. Yeah, it was, because it was the episode with James Corden on. And they were talking about not drinking or cutting down drinking. And James Corden said one of his friends said to him that you have to think of it as how much of tomorrow do I want to borrow by drinking? And I was like, that is so true. The amount of times that I've made plans the next day, and I know when I'm making them that it's probably not going to happen. Whereas now I'll make plans and there's no reason other than a major catastrophe that I'm not going to be there. So that self-respect and that trust in yourself and that consistent energy it's not being borrowed from tomorrow, that you can maintain that. And that, yeah, it's an incredible feeling, isn't it? And has Joe seen a difference in you? Has it affected your relationship positively?
Oh, yeah, definitely my relationship with Joe. We were talking about this on holiday. I feel so much closer to him because I'm not hungover. Where when I was hungover, I'd be really hot and I wouldn't want him to come near me. And I'd just be in a mood all the time. And I'd be so stressed and anxious, and everything felt like it was hard. So our relationship, mine and Joe's relationship, has really blossomed. Like, we're both on this health journey, like yourselves as well. Though he does drink, not a lot, but when he drinks, he's like me when he drinks, but it is quite rare now. And other relationships are with my brothers. I am best friends with my brothers now. They used to hate me. They honestly hated me, and they were disgusted in me. And it was so funny. After Dubai, my cousin said, oh, James and William, who are my brothers, have you seen Faye's new social media post? It's so lovely about Dubai. And my brothers were like, no, we've got a block. We'll have to unblock it to see.
They
So now,
still had you blocked. Is that from the pots and pans incident?
so they're proud of me. And it was really funny, actually. My little brother was with Joe, and William said to Joe, God, you must be so happy Faye doesn't drink now. She's so content. I can see such a difference in Faye because she was so chaotic. And that little sentence really touched my heart. I was like, that is a really big compliment from my little brother there. So yeah, my relationships with my brothers completely transformed. Even my mom and my dad, because I speak to them now on weekends. I will call them on my morning walks, where I didn't used to do that. I used to be like once a month, where I call them every week now. And even my mum, bless her, from me not drinking, she's even chose to remove alcohol. She says I've inspired her. I used to send her all of Sarah's podcasts. I was like, Mum, you need to listen to this one. So she's decided now to remove alcohol. I think she must be about 9 months. Yeah, 9
Oh,
months out.
wow.
And yeah, we've got something to really bond on now. We're both reading Beyond Booze. I've read it now, but my mum's still reading it, and we bond on that. It's just, yeah, all of my relationships are just completely blossomed.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I must admit, my brother now has been sober for over 100 days.
Right.
His whole side of the family, in terms of like his partner and like her sister and her sister's husband, like none of them have been drinking. Not, I don't think because of me, but I think certainly because I've been talking about it more, and there's just more out there about kind of sobriety and cutting out alcohol, and there's more alcohol-free options. And then, yeah, my mum's not a huge drinker anyway, but she's definitely been listening to the things that I've been telling her, and we now share a bottle of alcohol-free Prosecco when I go to Birmingham instead of a bottle of wine like we used to. So it's just the
Oh,
little ways, isn't it, that it kind of like just trickles through, and it does kind of impact people even if you're not trying to consciously change them, which is just incredible. So if there was somebody listening who was, I guess, before listening to this today, toying with the idea of doing a sober stint, or were thinking maybe I should be cutting down on alcohol, what would your advice to them be about kind of doing that initially, and how would you sort of advise that they go about it?
I think number one, what I did was I pulled out a piece of paper and I put a line in the middle. And on one side, I put, what is alcohol giving me? And on the other side, I said, what is alcohol taken from me? And from writing down, I realized how much alcohol was actually taken from me. And then from that, I got really, really clear on my why. Why do I want to remove alcohol? And not only that, but what am I going to gain from removing alcohol? Because straight away, this was me. I thought about everything I'd be giving up if I removed alcohol. So you really need to focus on what you're going to gain. Like, it is good to be running away. It is really good to be running away from things that will start the motivation to remove alcohol. But it's what we are running towards that's going to sustain the motivation. And then
Yeah.
another thing as well is making sure you are absorbing all of the information in the sobriety world. So making sure you're buying the books or listening to them on Audibles, listening to the podcast. Like, when I first decided to remove alcohol, I went on so many walks and just listened to podcasts. Like, I was loving life, getting out in the nature and just laughing. Like, most of the podcasts, I am absolutely laughing out loud because they're so funny. And yeah, just making sure that you're in the sobriety community, the Facebook groups, following their Instagram accounts. Like, I speak to people I don't even know, I've never met, and probably will never meet in person on Instagram, who are also sober, just because the gorgeous sobriety community that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's so important. I think I didn't have that many people in my life when I started this that were either completely alcohol free or even attempting to go sober, or do sort of drier stints. It was only through Facebook, Instagram, the book club, actually sort of connecting with people online, that I put myself in a community. And now there's more people in my actual circle, in my inner circle, in my family and friendship group, who are alcohol free, or are, certainly having sober periods. But I didn't feel like I was alone when there wasn't, because I was out there in the Facebook groups and on the Instagram pages, and listening to podcasts and reading all the quit lit, and understanding what it was taken away from me, like you said. So coming on to quit lit then, because I've got some favorite kind of books and podcasts and things, and if people don't know, the Instagram account for the podcast actually only follows sober and self-development accounts. So if you are looking for a bit of motivation or a little bit of wanting to, create a bit more of a positive online space, then go and follow some of those accounts. But what were some of the books and podcasts that you really loved when you first embarked on this journey?
I think my favourite book has to be The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober by Catherine Gray. I just related to that so much, especially if you are an ex-party girl, ex-binge drinker. Another book as well, like you, Naked Mind, that just blew my mind. And I also
Yeah.
got her 30-day alcohol-free experiment as well, because it has a slight few things different in there. Also, Claire Pooley's book, the Sober Diaries. Her book is more of a diary of what happened in her first year, and that's where I got the sober treats from. So I am very strict with buying myself sober treats because I deserve it. And like she says, the amount of money that we would spend on alcohol, like we are saving, so we deserve to treat ourselves, praise ourselves for doing something good. So she buys herself flowers each week to remind herself she is as bright and as beautiful as these flowers. So from that, I now save money away each week, and I also treat myself. So one of the big treats I bought myself was a coffee machine. So now every morning I make my coffee with the milk, and I remind myself, like, I now feel as delicious and as fresh as this coffee tastes. So it's like the little reminders. And Catherine Gray, she's got a second book. I think it's called Warm, Sober,
Sunshine, Warm,
Love
Sober. Yeah, it's amazing. Because she said people always say stone cold sober, like it's a really boring, horrible, grey thing. And she's like, no, it's freaking sunshine, warm, sober. I feel amazing.
I love
Yeah.
that book, learning about alcohol big market and everything that went to court in the alcohol world. I absolutely love that book. And another book, Beyond Booze by Sarah Rusbatch. I'm obsessed. That's a book on how to enjoy being sober, how to enjoy and make the most out of your sober life.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll link all the books that we've mentioned in the show notes. But yeah, for me, the Catherine Gray one was hilarious as well because she's just so honest in her kind of explanations and discussing why she went sober and the stories and the things that she used to do. And there's just such raw honesty in there that it's really cringy. And I'm pretty sure that everybody that has been a binge drinker can relate to some of the stories. So yeah, I'll pop all those in the show notes, but definitely I'd say get some Quitlet if you're going to start doing this, because it's relatable, isn't it? It's really relatable. And I think you need something to kind of make you laugh as well. I guess just, relate to the stories and the incidents and the anxiety and everything that happens when you're drunk that you cringe about reflecting on when you're sober. Well, look, Faye, I could chat to you all day, but I'm very conscious that you've got a whole day ahead of you and that it's only about 8:30 in Sydney, so I better let you crack on. But before you go, could you let everyone listening just know where they can find you online so that if they want to connect to you or if they want to do any of your future courses or get in touch, where's best to do that?
So you'll find me mostly on Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Faye-Louise with 5 underscores. And I also have a website, www.fayelouise.com. You'll find a freebie on there. I've created a freebie, how to have a wholesome weekend without wine. There's 50 activities you can do. And there's also a blog on there as well where you'll find me posting a weekly blog.
Amazing. I'm so excited for everything that you're going to be doing in the future as well, because you've only just started with all this and you're just such a positive ray of sunshine and you're just, such a good energy. And I just know that when people connect with you and start following you, that going to want to understand what it is that you're doing and do it for themselves. So if anyone listening is thinking about going sober or just even doing, a few weeks, then go and follow Faye and I guarantee that she will absolutely convince you to do it. Thank you so much, Faye. I've had a ball and I hope you have a fabulous day.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And you enjoy your evening.
Oh, thank you. See you soon. Thanks for listening. You can find us on Instagram at HelloSundayPod, or you can email us on hellosundaypod@outlook.com. Have a great week.